I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the Surrey County Public Safety Committee December meeting. I'm going to do a roll call. Mr. Schlueter?
Here.
Mr. Peters?
Here.
Mr. Van Etten? Chuck, can you hear
Here.
me? Yeah.
Here.
Let the record reflect that I do have a quorum. Mr. Buckholz has been excused. He's unable to attend, but should matters warrant, he's available via telephone. Madam Clerk, are we in compliance with open meeting law?
Yes.
The meeting agenda has been posted. Is there any questions on the agenda? Hearing no questions. Is there anybody here or in virtual that wishes to address the board on any matters not on the agenda? Mr. Zufel, you have your hand up?
Need to unmute.
Mr. Zufel, do you wish to address the board or the committee? Mr. Zufel, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Do you wish to address the committee at this time?
No, I did. There was no audio. That's the reason I had my hand up. I couldn't hear anything.
Okay.
Sorry.
Is there anybody else present or virtual that wishes to address the committee at this time? Anybody want to sound out to make sure that their audio is connected? I'm going to assume that then the audio is working, and I'm going to move forward. We have the minutes from the October meeting. As the committee had a chance to review the minutes.
Yes.
I have a motion from Mr. Schlueter to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Peters. In discussion, is there any questions on the minutes? Mr. Bennett, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Hearing no other comment, I'll call for the vote on the motion. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to number 6, Judge's report. Your Honor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Schlender. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Very brief today. Same thing as last month. We're finding ourselves just struggling and dealing with the scheduling with some out-of-county judges and the amount of jury trials that we're having, and just those general things that I'm not going to take up time discussing, as they've already been discussed before. The one thing that I've been noticing is that we have been having problems with our video conferencing system. Obviously, with the pandemic, we are relying more on Zoom technology, and we've had some serious issues related to our volume, our speaker system, our video conferencing system that just seems to be either hanging up or lagging. I don't mean hanging up like disconnecting, but hanging up as in like freezing, disconnecting. We've had tech support down there. They've helped us through it, but we've taken up a lot of time. And with the caseloads that we've been dealing with here, that obviously is just increasing the pressure that the court system and the clerk's office is under. Also, that's obviously, I don't know if that is because the system is being changed and maneuvered because the county board is being set up or zoning is being set up, the other meetings that use the courtroom. But that if it continues to get worse or stay the same and maybe gets worse a little bit here, we might have to address it in the near future. But that's just maybe a heads up of a potential problem that's on the horizon. But other than that, we're dealing with it. The one thing that I did say to my court security officer today was that the jail with the Zoom technology and the way we've been doing it recently, they have performed magnificently. They're there being ready to come into the meeting on the Zoom matter from the jail at the required times. And so I guess just this month, hats off to the jail. They've been doing a great job as far as working with us on the Zoom technology. So awesome job on that end. But other than that, we're struggling through, and we're trying to absorb this calendar as much as possible. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Judge. Is there any questions on the judge's report? Just because we have virtual, I will probably call the committee members. I don't mean anything other than just inviting comments. Mr. Slater, do you have anything else to add to the report? Mr. Peters? Mr. Van Etten?
I do not.
All right. Thank you, Judge. Moving on.
Thank you.
Moving on to number 7, we have the Clerk of Court. She submitted a report that was submitted to the board, to the committee. Madam Clerk, are you with us?
I'm here.
Is there anything you wish to add to your report, or anything you wish to address with the committee?
No, other than the issue of continually trying to juggle calendars with visiting judges who are trying to schedule on top of each other here. And we only have this one small courtroom to try and work with. And we're doing the best we can with what we got.
Is there any comments or questions for the clerks regarding the clerk's report? Mr. Slater? Mr. Peters? Mr. Van Etten?
No.
Hearing none, thank you for your report. Moving on now to the district attorney's report. Mr. District Attorney, are you available online? All right, he's not present. Moving on now to child support. Is the director available online? We did not receive a report. Moving on now to the sheriff's report. Sheriff, you have the floor.
We had, you know, from our perspective, a pretty successful deer season this year. We didn't have much for calls, no injuries or lost hunters. So that's a good thing. We did have an increase in trespassing complaints. Outside of that, the month of November has been pretty good, especially compared to other months here this year. So with that, I'll turn it over to the chief.
Corey submitted a dispatch report. He is continuing to work with North Memorial regarding the contract for the emergency medical dispatch services. It seems like COVID's slowing this down a little bit, but he's working at it. We did purchase the Rip and Run software with Spillman, and currently in the process of working with the local fire departments and EMS to get this up and going. It seems to be a timely process. Supervisor Sully also submitted the federal Next Gen 911 grant. The grant is for federal funding to purchase a backup mobile 911 phone system. That's a 60-40 match. And the communication center hired 2 new part-time dispatchers. I was informed that the first will begin training today. Training usually consists of anywhere from 230 to 250 hours in the dispatch center. We currently have 2 part-time dispatchers on board. Total number of calls received by the dispatch center in November was slightly down from last November to 4,064. Calls for service are up this November from last November. So, and the total number of calls for service that they received year to date from January 1st to November 30th is 17,771. So they've been pretty busy dispatch.
Is that higher than previous years, or is that?
It's up a little bit from the same period last year. Yes. Not too much, a couple hundred calls.
So, Mr. Chief Deputy, do you have a quick response regarding staffing needs, or where are you at with your staffing for road deputies?
We're at 100% with the road deputies. We have 1, 2, 3 part-time deputies.
And then how's the staffing for your jail?
We currently have a job posting out for part-time male positions. I have a female who's almost finished with training. We are down 1 full-time employee currently. Those her shifts are being filled with part-time help for the time being. So we'll be looking at, once we are able to get a couple part-time males on board, because there'll be a male spot we'll have to hire for. Once we get them through training, we'll make a determination at that point. We'll select to fill that.
And then your dispatch is at 100%, or you just?
Dispatch is at 100% for full-time, correct? And we're, like I said, we have 2 part-timers, plus we just hired an additional 2 person.
Excellent. Any questions? Or no, wait a minute. Let's Chief Deputy Jones report.
Yes.
Jail report, Lieutenant Johnson.
I submitted my jail report there. Our average daily population for November is up a little bit from October. We've had more people sentenced. Thus, the number on electronic monitoring has gone up to 5 from 1 a month ago. I guess other than the report I submitted, we recently switched inmate communication companies to Reliance Telephone. Reliance Telephone is here installing their software, their hardware and software, which will allow for inmates to, they have handheld devices that they can text, video call or voice call on. And those have been going since, I believe, the 19th. And we're already at over 40,000 text messages sent and received to the facility, not to mention all of the video and voice calls. So,
what's your assessment of that program?
As far as how do I like it? The inmates are very happy with it. There's several other options on there as far as the law library is accessible to all of them now, whereas before they would have to submit a request to be brought down to a room where they had a computer so they can access that from the handheld devices or the wall kiosks that are the same as the handheld, it's bigger. They have program options on it. There's AA classes that they can, it's all stuff they can read. It's not like an internet-based thing. There's other programs for parenting, for, you know, a lot of the stuff that Deputy Walsh would do, it's the paperwork version of it is on there for them to access.
And then what is the current your current jail population as of to your current knowledge?
74 total.
And do we have any out of county?
No.
And you said you have 6 on electronic monitoring?
5.
5?
Yep.
Okay. Is there any questions for the sheriff's office? Mr. Bennett, do you have any?
I do. Last month was reported 11 overdoses, heroin, and 11 traffic fatalities. This month, do we have a number?
I believe there's a 12 overdose that's being investigated potentially.
So, Sheriff, so it's an additional 1 just for the month, or 12 additional?
12 total for the year.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Peters?
I just have one question, and just because I'm new on the board, what is the maximum population for the jail?
We have 104 beds that are available, and then we have holding cells as well. Those can't be used for like normal housing.
Certain.
So.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Schluter?
No, keep up the good work.
All right, we have the animal control report. Any questions regarding that report? Sherry's not available online, is she? Or Ms. Shelton? Hearing no questions on that.
I just had one, I noted one just typographical error in there. There are 2 different ways to spell fowl, and it's F-O-W-L for, I think, rather than F-O-U-L.
Okay. I'm sure that Mr. House or the sheriff can convey that back to Officer Shelton. Any last calls for comments or questions for the sheriff's department?
Mr. Schlender, I have a question.
Go ahead.
And this is just a clarification. I don't know if I should be asking this in the open meeting or maybe a private message or private conversation. But if the court sentences somebody to a misdemeanor case right now, let's say 20, 30 days in jail, or maybe a third offense, well, not a third offense, but like a second offense OWI, are those jail sentences being held? Is the jail accepting those for the jail sentences as of right now?
Yes, we are.
Okay, and that changed as of early October, correct? Because it was before early October you were deferring them. True.
That is correct.
Okay, but now anyone that is being sentenced or either on a cash bond or sentenced to a jail term, the jail is accepting them.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. That's all I have.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, moving on to the coroner's report. Is the coroner available?
No.
Is there a report submitted? No report submitted. Moving on now to number 12, emergency management. Ms. Sanchez, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. You have my report in front of you. The only thing I just want to highlight is because of the COVID influx, approximately 75% of my time is spent on COVID-related activities. So there is a picture of what I primarily do at the bottom. It seems like the majority of my job is ordering, stocking, and distributing PPE for healthcare facilities and other emergency responders. That's pretty much all I have.
Any questions for Ms. Sanchez? Mr. Peters.
I just noticing in that picture, is there a need for better shelving to be able to organize those PPE materials?
There is, and I do have, what's not shown, I do have a metal shelving that maintenance brought down that I have all the N95 stocked on. I don't know if a lot of those boxes are filled with gowns and they're about 50, 60 pounds. So I don't know what kind of shelving we would use. And a lot of times when I get the stuff in, yesterday was our COVID testing, but it's also Wednesday, so when I receive the PPE. So a lot of times I will utilize the National Guard to help me stock it. And then over the next couple days, like the hospital and other healthcare agencies will come in. What they do is I pull out the SAR buses stored in there, they pull in with their truck or trailer, and then we just offload onto that. So yeah, I don't know if a shelving unit would be strong enough to hold those. I mean, you know, right now I'm probably sitting at about 30, 40, 50,000 gowns, probably 10,000 masks. I have sanitizer, you know, that's only one side. I have PPE stored on 3 sides of the bay of the fire hall.
Any other questions for Ms. Sanchez? Ms. Sanchez, do you have anything you wish to add regarding the communications specialist report?
No, not unless the sheriff has something he wants to add.
No, it just, we're working with John Krupp there and having weekly meetings, and we had a meeting Tuesday with Nate and the president of the Fire Association. We're moving forward, and looks like we're gonna transition law enforcement, if all goes well this month, and look at paging and fire next month to the new system.
Any questions regarding the communications specialist report? Hearing none, Mr. Bennett, do you have any questions for that?
I do not. Thank you.
Mr. Sleater? No. Mr. Peters? All right, moving on to number 13, Criminal Justice Coordinating Council update. Two updates. First one is it was communicated unofficially that the tribal council for the tribe has approved a renewed memorandum of understanding with the contribution coming from the tribe for the CJCC activities, increasing it from $25,000 a year to $50,000 a year, and that MOU would be for 3 years. We do need to finalize that and get that in front of the board for final review and then approval, and if it's approved, then signature, so that we can, I guess, work on the logistics. And so, Ms. Roker, are you on the line?
I am, sir.
Ms. Roker, I need you to coordinate with Mr. Hoff, and I need you to contact the tribe's legal department. There is an attorney that's been assigned from the tribal side to work on the draft language. I need you to probably initiate that conversation and forward the previous MOU language for their review. And we need to bring this to the county board in some form so that that could be reviewed by the full board and then and to be signed. However that's going to happen, Mr. Hoff will have the contact information, and yeah, so there's a couple of provisions that they're asking for that's in addition to what was in there, and what they want is an additional seat or two regarding the composition of the tribal representation on that council. Ms. Roper, do you have any questions about that?
I don't, thank you. But I will make sure to initiate that contact.
The second update regarding the criminal justice coordinating update is that committee is going to begin a discussion on the idea of either a joint jurisdiction or something to do with the transfer of citations. I know that the sheriff had some interesting questions that was posted when he provided an update to the tribal council. Unfortunately, I don't think the sheriff is in a position to address what those were. And so the joint CJCC will take that under review and see if there is any ability to develop some type of mechanism for that discussion. The CJCC's mission is to coordinate with the various agencies and stakeholders to figure out if there's a way to make the criminal justice system a little more efficient. And so that committee will take that up and then have a chance to talk to the various stakeholders. So that's the two things that the CJC will be discussing. Is there any questions regarding that? Mr. Bennett, do you have any questions regarding the CJCC update?
I do not, thank you.
Mr. Schluter? Mr. Peters? Anybody from the floor? Hearing none, moving on now to the ambulance report.
I actually don't have a whole heck of a lot today to really talk about, besides COVID, that we're dealing with. We still have 3 open full-time positions. There's not really a lot of workforce out there right now. Everybody is short-staffed in all agencies, which we're seeing kind of that trickle effect of schools closing and not really a lot of people coming out of schools that are licensed and credentialed. So we are filling the 3 positions that we have with part-time staff. I'm kicking in when we have sick calls or whatever else too. So we're making a buck. We are, of course, looking forward to the new year. A lot of exciting things that are happening with the radio system, paging system, rip and run, new state protocols, medical direction coming through, which will be statewide, which will be exciting for us because we don't have to spend a lot of training on protocols because everybody that's going through school will be trained on these protocols. So it's pretty much more of a flawless system. Other than that, our call volume, we are seeing a lot of just general sick people. Anything from falls to, GI complaints, the shortness of breath, a lot of it could probably be contributed to COVID type symptoms. Now we're going to start going into the flu season. So there's a lot of sick people. Our call volume has gone up 911 because of that. Transfers are down a little bit, but we're suspecting just for the simple fact that our hospitals are filling up and there's no place to put these people. They actually move them. We're seeing in our regional areas like Eau Claire, Duluth, Minnesota, where there's not a lot of ICU beds for these people. So these people are going to have to stay in these smaller facilities. And we're starting to see that more. You guys asked last month about COVID and what that does to staffing or how many people we've had out. Total since COVID, we've had 10 people that have been out on staffing. So we have, I believe, 52 people that are on roster. So quite a few. And we hope is that with staffing wise, we just can't trickle through, people are sick.
Any questions for Mr. Dunstan?
I do have one more thing there. PPE wise, I do have to thank Pat Sanchez and whatever else because we are able to get that PPE that is needed, just like when she's helping stock hospitals too. So,
Mr. Bennett, do you have any questions for the ambulance director?
I do not. Thank you.
Mr. Slater?
No.
Mr. Peters?
No.
Any other questions for Mr. Dunstan from the floor? Mr. Dunstan, thank you for your report. Thank you. Moving on, any future agenda items? Mr. Sheriff?
If I can just go back, one thing I'd like to mention is with the lieutenant gone here, patrol lieutenant, we did have one of our full-time deputies who just completed probation, Amber Dorn, exceptional deputy and did a great job. Want to acknowledge her. And as well, we did, the chief did some research here on COVID numbers and he'll take a minute to present as well at the committee's request.
We have had 5 positive cases for sheriff department employees. Those are all recovered. We do currently have 1 in isolation for possible exposure, and we've had 14 that have tested negative.
So actually this opens up a question then. So Mr. Dunstan, when you said of your staff of 52, you've had 10 that tested positive, is that what you're telling me?
No, I've had 10 that have either been out on close contact, either at home, family that aren't able to work. We've only had 3 that have tested positive.
In the entire time that you've
Yes.
had this COVID experience?
Yes.
And so when you, and then this is for the chief deputy and also for Mr. Dunstan, when you have someone that tests positive and then they recover, has there been ever a situation where someone has tested positive a second time?
No, not that I know. No.
So when you tell me that you have 5 people that were affected by COVID and you've had 10 people that have been affected by COVID, those are standalone incidences and not staff members per se, right? So of your 52, you've had 10 incidences where your staff had to isolate because of COVID-related activities. And then in every instance, they either tested negative or there was a recovery from any kind of COVID symptoms.
Yes.
And then that's the same with you, Chief
Right.
Deputy? All right. Any questions regarding the COVID discussion that just spontaneously erupted? Mr. Slater, do you have any questions? Mr. Peters? Mr. Van Etten?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, going back to the agenda, we have future agenda items. Is there any items that this committee would like to have on for the January session? Mr. Slater? Mr. Peters?
I just noted one thing from the minutes, talking about our legal information on fire. There was a note in there that would be looked into, and is that still proceeding?
We could probably put that on for January if there's a follow-up on that.
Okay.
So for the January agenda, we'll have just a follow-up on the fire hall discussion from November. Mr. Van Etten, is there anything you wish to add to the agenda for January's meeting?
Not at this time. I'm just happy that this 9 o'clock does work much better for me. Just a side note.
All right, moving on to number 16, other matters for discussion that's not on the agenda, any conference reports or any other matters for discussion only. Mr. Slater, do you have anything?
No.
Mr. Peters?
No.
Mr. Van Etten?
Nope.
Anything from the floor? I tentatively offer to people to bring up for discussion. Hearing none, I want to thank everyone for their participation. This meeting is adjourned.